What's up, everybody? All you humans and kaiju and French people drinking bad American coffee. It's great to see you. This is Cinespection. Welcome. I'm sorry we were a bit late. We said 9 p.m. Eastern Time, and we were late because of me. So I'm very sorry, and I'm really grateful to my friends to wait that waited for me for all this time. So before we get into what we'll be talking about today, I want to welcome our guest. He's our friend Deibs. He's Mr. Crockpot on Twitter. He's a member of the Suit Up Geeks podcast and a frequent collaborator in a whole bunch of cool stuff here at the Painted Lines. He was with us last week, and he was like, I need to come back for Godzilla 98. So welcome, Deibs.
Dude, more than psyched to join you guys here at Cinespection. Talk some Godzilla. Cannot wait for Godzilla versus Kong. I think coming out tomorrow morning on HBO Max. I'm here to represent Team Godzilla. Let's go.
Let's go, because yeah, we are going to be talking about the beautiful Roland Emmerich 1998 masterpiece Godzilla. We have different opinions. I can just tell by John's face. We were both, I think we were all around the same age. We were, 10 years old when this came out-ish, 11. So we lived it. So, all right, let's start with the basic ones. Because I think that this movie is remembered as the bad Godzilla, and everybody's like, it's bad, it's bad, it's bad. So is it as bad as they say? And let's start with John.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, 100%. It is just as bad as they say. This movie, first off, it plays into every single 90s trope out there, right? There is nothing from the 90s.
No, is that a bad thing? Is that a bad thing?
Hang on, this is Cinespection somewhere up there. And what I'm saying is this is an awesomely bad movie, which is becoming our new guideline for what we're watching is awesomely bad movies. Is it garbage? Yeah. But is it garbage that I will watch? Yeah. Am I unhappy that I paid $6 for it? Kinda. But all at the same time, it is a good movie. Like if you're hungover on a Sunday and you want to watch TV, it's on, watch it. It's good. It's going to be you're going to get a lot of laughs. However, I will say this. If you are somewhat politically correct or want to be politically correct or somehow find yourself woke, please don't watch this movie. Please don't cancel Godzilla 98 because there are so many things in it that are so wrong by today's standards.
Wait, no. If you're talking about the French stuff, I have some French insight into
No. Okay, Okay, there are so many other things besides the French thing. But we'll get to all of these things later, right? We're going to get to all these things later.
Yeah, and just in case any of you people tuned in the last couple of weeks, so we were all about the Snyder Cut and Batman v Superman. That is not what we usually talk about here. I mean, we do have some time for the Marvels and the DCs, but we love our 90s and early 2000s not masterpieces. So that's what we talk about. So, Deibs, is this movie as bad as they say, or as good as you remember? What do you think?
It was never that bad to begin with. You talk about a huge Roland Emmerich film. You've got an epic soundtrack, Green Day, Puff Daddy, Jamiroquai.
Yes.
Did I not say every single trope from the 90s combined?
Yes. I mean, I wish movies were like that these days.
I think on the surface, the conversation about this movie begins and really ends with the fact that Roland Emmerich never intended this movie to be like a Godzilla movie. What he wanted to do was essentially take the original kind of basic storyline and make his own take. I think we can all agree here. If you would have called this J.J. Abrams' Cloverfield prequel, we all would have had a little bit more fun. But the fact that it had that Godzilla label and it was marketed so badly that we'll talk about later on, I think that was its truly true downfall there. So yeah, I think what I enjoy about this movie, you're right, Gabe. It's so 90s. I'm a 90s guy. Well, what I love about this movie is it's ridiculous. It's completely self-aware, and it just goes for it. It goes for it, especially in that last act that is just complete chaos and ridiculous. It's not like Jurassic World where at the end You see Chris Pratt driving a motorcycle alongside some velociraptors. It doesn't get that, but it's enjoyable. It's oddly probably my most watched Godzilla movie ever, and there's something to be said about that. So.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same for me. I'd rather watch this one 10 times before I have to watch King of the Monsters or any of those newer ones again, because this is just dumb. It's dumb and it knows it's dumb, like old Roland Emmerich movies. And that's a bit of the beauty, I think. And to your point, Deibs, this question was going to come up later, but I think what if we had called this movie like Monster Takes Manhattan or something like that? John, would you have liked it better if it wasn't called Godzilla? What do you think?
Oh, I mean, I would have liked it a little bit better. But actually, going back on that, I actually think that this was the best origin story for Godzilla. Yeah, I think that this was the best Godzilla origin story because it actually came from like a legitimate thing, right? Not from like a nuclear disaster that came up with this. I don't like the King of the Monsters Godzilla from 2014 where it's just like, oh, well, Godzilla's been around forever, so I don't like that. So I actually like the premise better. This is Godzilla. I don't like the way Godzilla looks because Godzilla looks like a giant velociraptor. Matter of fact, I think that what Deibs said with the Lost World, like they just went and grabbed that whatever Indominus Rex, whatever, and pulled it into the movie. Like that's what it looks like.
Totally.
Yeah. It's an awful look. It's an awful look, but it's a monster. So, Dies, what if it was called the monster that attacked Matthew Broderick and his girlfriend in Manhattan? What do you have thought there?
I mean, it would have been so much better. Like it would have been. You look at like movies like Lake Placid. Who doesn't love Lake Placid? It's just a fun movie. If you would have changed the title of this, and it would have just been like Jurassic Park. Lost in Manhattan or Lost something along those lines, it would have been a lot more fun. I think it would have had more of more of an audience. And I think you slap that Godzilla title on it, like that is a very sacred title. That is a very cherished franchise. You look how long it took between it was like 40 years or something. It was like an immense amount of time to finally get a Godzilla movie, and it was completely different than the original concept. And I think a lot more people hated it than they like. You look at Disney, they're just slapping things on lunchboxes, page for page remake. Let's make a live action piece of shit. And I don't like that. I like that Roland Emmerich had an idea. The studio said, go for it. And it didn't turn out great, but I enjoyed it. Come on.
I don't think the movie turned out bad. It's just if you had made a different design, it's not a bad. Okay, it's a movie to have fun with, and it accomplishes that. I had a lot of fun. And sorry, just hi Leo. Here's Leo. Yeah, exactly. What we're saying. Hi Leo. Sorry, I'm just saying hi now. But I do think that the title plays against it because it's a fun movie. So John, I want to hear the argument against. So just FYI, sorry, John. I watched this one with Rachel. Rachel's my girlfriend this weekend, and this is what she believes. So it's not for everybody. But granted, she hasn't seen any of the newer ones or the Japanese ones, which I don't think she'd like. Even either way. No, Leo, I disagree. But go ahead, John.
All right. All right, I'm going to start from the beginning and rip apart all the way to the end. All right, starting at the beginning, it begins like every single other 90s movie, introduced to some guy working in some random field, and all of a sudden, we really have to, some guy's working in a field, we got to go get him. Literally the opening to Jurassic Park, by the freaking way. Let's be honest, it's two people digging up a dinosaur, and then some random billionaire shows up, and you've got to come with me. This happens in every 90s movie. So 90s trope, they're out the gate. We have a 90s prime Matthew Broderick.
It's just you keep saying that. You keep saying that as it is it's a bad thing. Like just go full 90s. Just do it. They're almost done.
They
It's
did in
98?
99, yeah, 98. I mean, I owned this movie on VHS. Okay, like I get that it was a movie for the time. The CG was god awful, even for the time. The Matrix came out at the same time. I just want to remind everybody, Matrix came out at the same time.
And Titanic came out a
Titanic.
year before. Yeah.
So don't tell me that you have to like buy into the 90s when like all of these other great movies came out.
Oh God, I miss the 90s. All right, let's get over something that I loved when I was a kid, and I think I still do. Or we watched that the teaser trailers. Do you remember that there was a teaser trailer? I'll describe it for everybody that didn't see it. There was a girl in a museum. She was in like a school trip, and she was looking at a T-Rex skeleton. Right, and it was pretty big, and she's like, "Wow!" I don't know what museum it was. I don't know if it was a Met or something. I don't know. And then all of a sudden, they start, like the ground starts shaking, and all of a sudden, Godzilla steps like over the roof and on the T-Rex skeleton and just wrecks it. And it's like, and there was a tagline. I can't remember for the life of me.
Size does matter.
Size does matter, exactly. And it was like. Look at Rachel. As far as I can tell, he was always right. Just saying. Not in this case. Matrix is the better movie. Yes, it is. Anyway, that teaser was beautiful. Like, they didn't show the creature. It was just creepy. It isn't in the movie, which is interesting. But what do you guys think? Let's go with, I don't know, John first.
All I was going to say is the only thing that I remember teaser trailer for this was, like, wasn't this McDonald's had Jurassic Park and Taco Bell had Godzilla, if I remember right. And like the big, like that was what they used. Like, and Taco Bell was like the cooler of the like franchises. And I just remember those remember in the 90s, they always had the big cups. Yeah. And they had the giant like cup and it had Godzilla on the side of it. Like,
so good.
And everybody's parents, by the way, had those like McDonald's, Burger King, Taco Bell, giant like 60-ounce plastic, non-reusable, but we reuse them cups at home. Like that's all I remember. And like, let's be honest here. If we're comparing monster movies from generally the same era, right? We had Jurassic Park, which we reviewed 2 weeks ago, and then we have this, or we had Lost World that we reviewed 2 weeks ago, and then this. I don't know which one is more awesomely bad or has more 90s tropes in it, but this movie was definitely hornier. And I have already talked to Gabe about this, but everybody in the movie is like trying to like get with somebody else. And there's like all these weird, like little tiny love triangle type things everywhere.
Yeah, horny people in the 90s. All right, Leo's mentioning, I didn't see the Taco Bell commercials.
I remember
in the United States, but
it was the little Chihuahua dog. And he's got like a box, and the Godzilla monster goes by him, and he goes, "I'm going to need a bigger box." And there's another one. There's another one. There's a Doritos one. I fully recommend everyone go and check out the Godzilla Doritos one. Do you remember the scene when the Godzilla comes and eats the pile of fish? Instead, it's the worst CGI you could ever imagine, and it's a truck essentially of Doritos, and he like lifts it up in his mouth and like. Cheetos goes like, or Doritos go everywhere, and then he licks his fingers.
I didn't see those, but I would like to say that I'm offended because Leo wants to watch it again because Deibs likes it so much. She doesn't trust my taste. Oh. What is this, Leo?
This wasn't art. For the record, just so everybody watches this, we don't pick these movies. You guys pick these movies.
Yeah, vote.
Every week, yes. You guys are picking these movies. You vote for them. We just suggest like 4 or 5 things. So you guys are picking the movies. So, if you want to watch what we're watching the week before, it's always going to be on a Twitter poll. So make sure I know the Painted Line throws it up for us all the time. So like, come on, guys, like watch it with us. And then you can feel the hatred of crappy movies.
Exactly. Or the love. Or the
love in Gabe's case.
Yeah, it could be either one. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
What I'm now thinking is like, instead of renting it for $4, I could have got a chicken chalupa. That would have been so much better.
I'd eat that. I just want to say,
taco at Taco Bell. You too can buy Godzilla 98 on Amazon Prime.
I just want to say Taco Bell is the same as is a perfect restaurant for this movie because it's a cheap knockoff of a foreign country's product. that goes into you and comes out screaming. So yes, Taco Bell. Whoever thought that out, genius. Sonny, what's up, Sonny? Says Team Kong. Leo says Team Godzilla. I say I don't care. I'm Team Matthew Broderick. All right, let's go over the next one. All right, there's the premise I'm gonna intersect these two. The premise of this movie is the French nuclear tests in the French Polynesia made a lizard mutate, and it becomes this giant thing that goes through the Pacific Ocean, then crosses through Panama, that the United States just invades the U.S. Army, just like, hey, let's check this out, because the people in Panama can't do it, I guess. And then it just crosses, and then it goes all the way up to New York. And then the U.S. Army calls this guy that they call the Worm Guy, played beautifully by Matthew Broderick, because he studies genetic mutations in worms, so they think he's the right guy to study genetic mutations in lizards. And he comes in and he's like doing stuff, and then he has a girlfriend.
But here's the problem, real quick, Gabe. They never once. This is where this movie already has gone off the rails. Yes. It's okay. They go and they get a like this guy, the Worm Guy, who's studying mutation due to nuclear radiation. He's the one that tells them that this is a giant lizard creature. Before he gets there, they think it's a dinosaur. So why wouldn't they bring in a paleontologist or something like that? Why do they bring in some random worm guy?
Oh,
they have no clue that it's from the radiation yet. He tells them.
Wait, but what was the horny redhead? The horny redhead doctor, what was she?
I don't know.
We don't know, because she was the horny redhead trying to get at Matthew Broderick the entire time.
It's like but she's the one that's like, it's a dinosaur, and then so was she the paleontologist? I don't know.
Well, no matter what, it made no sense that they got this guy from Chernobyl, by the way. So they go to Chernobyl, which he's just randomly digging out worms with no gear at all. By the way, watch Chernobyl on HBO. It's great. But he's there in this nuclear irradiated site, just digging up worms. Like,
and
let's go, boys.
I'm seeing it in the rain. All right.
It essentially got like bits and pieces of everything. You know what movie came out in '98 as well? Armageddon. You remember what they did in Armageddon? Let's bring in the best digging team you can find and send them to an asteroid. That's what they did here with Matthew Broderick. It makes total sense.
But that is also another awesomely bad movie with a crazy 90s soundtrack with like Aerosmith as the main song.
Yeah, why not? All right, wait. Let's go over this. Is the premise stupid? And what do you think about the love story? And just for context, love story. Matthew Broderick had a college girlfriend who's now a wannabe reporter, but due to sexual harassment, she's not allowed to grow in her career. Like really explicit sexual harassment.
It's really explicit. Yes. Yet she uses herself to get the. So she literally does what she is like fighting against, just for the record.
Shit. That's true. Just with another guy.
Yes, she literally uses her sexuality to get Matthew Broderick to give her the information.
Well, that's the 90s for you. Deibs, what do you think? And also, Mrs. Crockpot says, "Be nice, please."
The love story is terrible. I mean, come on, guys. Like, this is the guy who did White House Down. He's done The Patriot, 10,000 BC, 2012, The Day After Tomorrow. Like, these are all brainless popcorn fun. No one going into this should expect any kind of love story. It's like, if you like Zack Snyder, then you should, parallel love this movie. It's a paper-thin movie with zero character development, love story, all that. It's about the monster. And to its credit, this is like one of the few Godzilla movies that actually focus on the monster, unlike a lot of the recent ones. So, the love story was terrible. It's awful.
I think it's bad because you never really like her. What she does is unforgivable, I think, in the context of the movie. But she's likable as a person up until she does that. And then after, when you forget that she did, she stole the tape. So I'm team love story. you guys are wrong.
I mean, here's the other thing, real quick, with the love story, with all of this. And I just want to point this out without getting way too off the rails. This movie has
go off the rails. That's the point. Go off the rails.
This movie actually has some really good plot points. Like the new Godzilla and the King of the Monsters and everything like that actually could learn a lot, in my opinion, from this movie. Like there are good things, like the fact that the monster actually comes from somewhere and isn't just conjured out of magic. The fact that like this is a pretty realistic way that the city would deal with it. Like, do we have to deal with it? No, let's wait until the last minute. Like these are all plot point things that can move forward. And as you said, Deibs, that let's be honest, they actually focus on the monster in this movie, and it's not some random.
You don't have to wait until the last act to finally see the monster.
Yeah, it's while Gabe's gone for a second, it's kind of like Cloverfield. I love Cloverfield, don't get me wrong, but like you wait the whole movie to learn about this monster, and then we don't get another movie for years, right? At least in this movie, we get to see the monster. So Gabe's back. We're going to let him go to the next question. But that being said, Gabe, my off the rails comment is that this movie actually has some good stuff in it. And that's off the rails.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm somewhere. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Sorry. It's just I don't have the best internet here. Yeah. All right. I don't know what you said, but I'm gonna assume you said nice things about this movie.
I actually did.
Question.
I actually for once said nice things.
Look at this. I went to snip some sweaters like Aquaman's fangirl.
Oh my god.
Nice one. It is true. It is true. I don't have sweaters here, but anyway, I did sniff one. I'm just back. All right. Question, and you don't have to elaborate on this one if you don't want, but why is everybody from The Simpsons cast in this movie? You have Hank Azaria. You have Nancy Cartwright has a cameo. Like, what's going on? Why is The Simpsons in this movie? What is this? That's the answer?
That's the answer. It's the 90s. I mean...
Well,
I mean, Deibs.
I think it's a low key. I think it's a low key important variable to this film. There are so many like cartoony and outrageous moments in this film that it almost makes it like necessary to have a handful of characters that are like just known for hamming it up a little bit. Like that, I think that's what makes it kind of fun in itself. Like it's an incredibly self-aware film that goes all in with the ridiculous, with all these kind of zany characters. Like how many times do we see like directors that give us like too many elements in a film, like the recent Fantastic Four movie that like it's a horror, it's an action, it's an adventure, it's a comedy, like, but there's no cohesive element to it at all. At least Godzilla '98 knows what it is, and I think it's because of that ability to make it it's self-aware that it never sells you anything that it's not. You know what you're getting yourself into. It's essentially a roller coaster ride at Universal Studios. That's the expectation, and it's a heck of a lot of fun. Nothing more, nothing less.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with that.
Rich.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are loving this movie. Look at you, John.
I mean, I don't love it. It's garbage. I want everybody to realize it's garbage, but it's garbage that I will gladly watch. Like I'm not hating on it, but it's still garbage. Like if you're trying to watch a movie and pick out all of these things, like I've already on this podcast without thinking about it, I think pulled 4 different plot points that make this movie trash. But that being said, when you watch a movie with Matthew Broderick, who is famous for other hit films like Ferris Bueller and The Producers, what are you expecting? I mean, honestly, like you're going to get some goofy cheeseball monster movie, and maybe that's what they were going after, and it takes us 20 years to realize it.
Yes, that is true. Again, because sometimes, before we move on to the next point, I just want to like clarify this. Like sometimes people say this movie's bad, this movie's bad, this movie's bad, and everybody thinks it's bad, but you haven't seen it in 20 years, or you've never even seen it, you know, and you go to watch it expecting the bad stuff, like, oh, the monster looks terrible, and this and that, and then you don't really see the movie for what it is. And I think sometimes expectations, especially in our era with Twitter and, you know, all the internet stuff, you're expecting the worst. And it's not really that. It's what it's supposed to be. All right, next one. This is my favorite question, guys. And I did some research on this one. The French guys. You got Jean Reno fresh off of The Professional, before the Da Vinci Code and whatever else he did in the United States, before he, you know, rightfully went back to France, and he's happy there, I'm sure. He plays a very, very French guy doing very, very French things, with a very French team, right? So first, I want to get your thoughts. What do you think about the Frenchiness of these guys? Are they too goofy? Are they too good? Are they what's up with the French guys?
I mean, the amount you touched on it, John, like the amount of stereotypes in this film is pretty ridiculous. Like America this, America that. The exaggerated New York accents like are so thick in this film. Everything feels so cartoony. I never understood why like the French were there and not the Japanese. I never understood.
Because I actually know this. Because in the first opening take of the movie, it's from the atolls in French Polynesia, which they haven't been in, by the way, I mean, since, you know, their whole empire fell apart after World War II. But still, that's why they're the French, is they said, we started this, we have to finish it, and I'm not even going to try a cheesy French accent. But that is why, is that it takes place in French Polynesia. That's where Godzilla comes from.
I feel like the entire point of the French people were just to make fun of American culture. That's it.
Maybe.
or French culture, which brings me to my research. Okay, so I have several French friends, but I reached out to one of them, my friend Elodie. Elodie, if you watch this, hello. I hope you're doing really well, and thanks for your help with the research. I asked her to look at 2 scenes. She watched 2 scenes. One was the scene where Jean Reno drinks the coffee and he's like, "You call this coffee?" Remember? And then he opens the bag and pulls out a donut and he's like, "No croissant?" Right? And then she watched the scene where they all they're sneaking into the city because only the army is allowed into New York City. And they're all chewing gum because it makes them look more American. So I asked her, is this like accurate? Is this how French people work? She said yes to all. She said yes to all. She said French people don't like American coffee. The taste is not good. It's too watered down. It doesn't taste good. 2, they like croissants. They don't like donuts. I'm sure they sometimes eat donuts, but their thing is to eat croissants with coffee, which that's why he's so frustrated. And to them, at least in the 90s, it would have been really American to be chewing gum. So come at me, PC police.
I mean, the only thing that I can say...
Thank you.
Is actually... It's not fair. He gets a starter accent. Like, he's got one to be able to blend it over easier, okay?
That's true.
So
you call this coffee.
The funniest thing about it, though, is like in the 90s, like the reason that people started chewing gum in American movies and stuff was they took away all the cigarettes out of movies. And the only people... And this is a long story, but if you've seen the movie, Thank You for Smoking, it elaborates on some of this part, and you kind of get an insight into the movie industry. By the way, watch Thank You for Smoking, another great movie. But only only certain groups of people smoke in like the late 90s movies, and it's like French terrorists, and like there's one other like group of people. But basically, they limited it down. And if you watch movies through the 90s, that always like that thing always holds true. And the Americans are always the ones trying to quit smoking. Like if you go back and you watch like whatever, it's like, no, I quit. And it's like, yeah, but then
Meet the Parents.
Yeah.
Meet the Parents. That was what I remember. Meet the Parents. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So
good point. Well, there you go. That's what the French were watching. Deibs, are they French enough? Are they look at Sonny. Say the coffee line again. Okay, you call this coffee. And then the other guy responds, I call this America. Remember?
Oh yeah.
And then they bring him like a French coffee and he's like, I thought you said this was French roast. That's what he says. He holds up the can. He's like, this is French roast.
I mean, besides all the obvious points, like in France, they don't call what we call coffee. They call it like what is it? Like a long coffee or an American coffee, or they call it a long coffee, coffee allongé, I think, or something like that, and that means like a taller pour. Anyway, it's not the point. French roast was just a great joke, and I actually loved it being in the movie.
Look at that. Those guys were the best part of the movie. Deibs, any thought on the French people before we move on?
No, we touched on all of it.
I love the French. Hello to everybody in France. If anybody's watching us from France, Elodie, I hope you're watching this. I mentioned you. All right. This one's going to get the most hate out of this social group. The baby Godzillas, or how do you call them? The Godzilla Raptor, whatever.
Baby G's.
Yeah.
Baby G's. Deibs, let's start with you. What's up with those?
It was so bad, man. I touched on it at the start, man. Like that CGI does not hold up. I just got done watching it, and
it does not.
Oh my god, is it bad?
It's so bad.
Are they not the most clumsy like little dinosaurs you ever met? Like there's so many.
Their heads are so sig, dude.
There's so many scenes that are straight up cringeworthy. Just straight cringeworthy. Yeah, I mean, they look like a mix of like Jurassic Park Velociraptor, but the CGI in that scene was just god awful. That was like really when the movie just got like off the rails. There's a lot of ridiculous in the movie, but those like baby dinosaurs, like I just couldn't. I couldn't get into it. It was cringeworthy.
It was
Leo
at the
agrees.
time. Yeah, Leo, I see Leo down there agreeing. But at the time, you also have to think, like, if you go back and watch the movie, most of it is actually done in practical effects, right? So, like, you watch and you see all these practical effects, and they weren't really using green screen. And it's so obvious that they weren't using green screen because the baby Velociraptor thing look like they're pasted on. You know, like when little kids use stickers and there's like the little white line around the sticker and they put it in the sticker book? That's what every CGI scene in this movie looks like. Like there's like a faint hue of like where somebody in the graphics department was like, okay, stick it there. All right, we're good.
There's a scene where like Matthew Broderick is like cornered by like 10 of them. And like the 5 scenes before that, like they're jumping on people and eating people. Meanwhile, Broderick is cornered by like 10 of them, and they just like are moving so slow, and it gets so dramatic. And then he gets in the elevator, and the one head goes in the elevator, and Broderick's like pushing the head out, and the elevator closes. Like what? Like who writes this?
And then there's a fantastic joke when he goes, the doors open and he's in a floor filled with dinosaurs again. This is like wrong floor, and they just don't do anything. Oh god, it's beautiful. Yeah, even as a kid, I was just like, I'm not into the baby Godzillas. I get why they did it because the Raptors were so successful and so effective in Jurassic Park, which is what motivated this movie overall. Like the success of Jurassic Park came out a few years after. They didn't work back then. They don't hold up right now. I think we all agree. But there's something that I want to get into just as a last point. There's a lot of homages to Jaws. I don't know if you guys caught them, but O'Neill, the army guy, says when they first see Godzilla, he says, "We need bigger guns," which is of course a reference to we're gonna need a bigger boat, or you're gonna need a bigger boat of Jaws. Then they have a dolly shot. For those that don't know, the dolly shot is kind of like a close-up. John, probably you can explain this better, but it's kind of like a close-up where you close up to the person, but the environment does not follow the shot, right? Maybe you can explain it better, John.
I mean, that's a pretty good explanation, I think. Like, the person is close up, but the environment's further away. Like the depth of field is shifted. Yeah. Right.
And then there's the one of the most classic uses of the dolly shot is when the boy's mom starts screaming that the boy's missing in the beach in Jaws. And then it goes towards Chief Brody, and then there's a really epic dolly shot. It's really hard to do as well as it's done in that movie. So there's a dolly shot of Matthew Broderick right after Godzilla looks at him for 30 seconds and then just like walks away. There's a dolly shot there. And then there's also the stubborn mayor. So I think they don't go full with it because the army's there, and it would be too silly to have the mayor have a say in the matter, but they kind of go there. So how do you guys feel? Like, why would they do this?
I mean, you have guys that honestly, if you look at what they had done, literally like what 2 years before. So you think that what's it called? Independence Day was what 95, 96, something like that. And they're coming hot off the heels of Independence Day. You can see a lot of those same tropes from Independence Day, like repeated in this movie. So they found good things. So it's not like they stole from Jaws directly. They had already stolen from Jaws once and they decided to do it again. But the mayor and stuff like that just
So
honestly, yeah, it is. But the thing is it was such a thing to do. And like I keep going back to like it's 90 trope after 90 trope after 90 trope. The mayor was like the king of all 90s movies. Like who's coming? Like even you think about Ghostbusters, the entire city of New York is failing everybody, and they go to the mayor because the mayor. And like that's what, and throughout every 90s movie, it's the same thing.
And did you know, like those two, the mayor and his sleazy like right hand man was just like almost like a metaphor for Siskel and Roger Ebert. Ebert and Siskel, I'm just drawing a blank. But apparently they panned Independence Day, and that was why they were put in this movie to make fun of them. And you see at the end of the film when the sleazy right hand man's like leaving, goes like this.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Check it out.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't notice that. I knew they were playing on Siskel and Ebert, which is kind of funny and also good. I mean, it is funny. Also, the mayor doesn't change his clothes in days because Jean Reno puts a mic in the back of his neck and then it just stays there. It doesn't.
I mean,
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I mean, it rains throughout the whole movie here with no explanation. I think it's to conceal the special effects, right? Like to kind of like make it easier to create Godzilla behind the rain, which is what Godzilla King of the Monsters takes to the absolute extreme. I don't want to talk about that one. All right, final points, guys. Should people watch this thing over newer Godzilla movies? Should they watch both? Should they just forget this ever existed? What's up? Let's go with Deibs first.
I don't think it deserves the hate at all. I think from a box office standpoint, it was pretty successful. You look at Mission Impossible, set the record 75 million in a 6-day opening weekend. This was at 74 million. Like you look at inflation, like this was actually a pretty good success. So again, if you're looking for on a Sunday, you're hungover, you're eating some Chinese food, and you just want to waste a couple hours, you could do a lot worse than 1998 Godzilla.
And versus the current MonsterVerse.
What's that?
Like, okay, what do you prefer, this one or the newer ones?
Oh, I actually liked King of the Monsters, so I'll say this was better than 2014's Godzilla. Not as good as King of the Monsters.
Wow, hot take. I'm surprised. John, go for it.
I think that you should watch it because I think you should watch everything that we tell everybody to watch because we're not just like out here, whatever. Actually, that's exactly what we're doing. We're telling you all to watch bad movies, but
not Paycheck. Paycheck, we said no.
I think that is it worth a watch? Yeah. Does it remind you of all the really cheesy 90s shit that we dealt with constantly? Yeah, it does. And like, if you can get past like how much the world has changed in 20 years, then totally watch it. It's worth it. Wow, Leo.
This I can't believe.
Someone give Juan some chocolates.
Look, 24. I mean, all right. I'm gonna disagree. I see now why Leo doesn't trust me because I don't agree. I kind of like 2014. I think I like I think it's shot pretty well, but and the battle, it builds up to it, and I think it somewhat worked. I know what they were going for, the Jaws effect, which is movies keep trying to do. But I wish they would have had actually interesting characters because Aaron Taylor Johnson is not a good leading man. Elizabeth Olsen is sleepwalking, and they have Bryan Cranston, but he couldn't
save that movie.
Spoiler alert.
I think
nobody could have. Yeah. And King of the Monsters is one of the blandest movies I've ever seen.
King of the Monsters is just monsters beating the shit out of each other.
That's what I want. That's all I want.
No, I cannot sanction that. No, I cannot allow.
100% what Godzilla movies, what King Kong movies should be in total. That's why the other movies are not good, because they have too much human emotion, storylines, plot lines running through. And that's why I give 1998's Godzilla credit. You know what they did a really good job at making you feel for Godzilla. This is a creature that just is trying to mate. It's trying to lay some eggs. It wants to be a dad. I have a 19-month-old daughter. I totally related to this Godzilla monster.
I will say at the end of the movie, when Godzilla died at the end of the movie, like, you felt bad. You were like, oh, they killed him. And then, like, of course, the egg pops open and then whatever. But, like, you felt like something towards this Godzilla that died. I'm not a big fan of, like, giant monster movies for a lot of reasons. But that being said, like, watch it. It's funny. You'll enjoy it.
I was going to say the same thing. I don't feel that strongly about giant CGI creatures fighting each other. I don't find it very compelling. So that's why King of the Monster to me is garbage. Because I don't care. I need to know. And they have so many good. This is not King of the Monsters. They have so many good actors. But anyway, Leo says, if you combine the story and filmmaking of 2014 with the scream time and monster battles of King of the Monster, you get a solid movie. Probably. Yeah. I would still need better characters. To me, the characters were
not a good
I mean, yeah, that's true. All right, guys, we got to move on. This was beautiful. Go watch Roland Emmerich movies. Not 10,000 BC, which I guess we should watch next week.
Bad. No,
I just wanted to see 10,000. Oh no, it's Daylight next week. We'll talk about
Daylight is finally happening next week.
Finally,
we
promise.
What he wants.
That's not a bad movie.
Yes.
Yeah,
we need to talk about Daylight. All right, let's move on now to our next story, John, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
All right, everybody. So we're going to talk about Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which this one I actually think is divisive, okay? Because we all have some strong feelings about it. Some people like it. Some people don't hate it. Oh, God damn it. Yes, we might watch 10,000 BC. But right now, let's talk about Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which was pretty decisive. Although this week's episode, once again, I feel was lackluster. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. I know, Deibs ready to go. So, because of that face, I'm going to ask you, before we do spoilers, just so everybody knows, what do you think?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah.
Go first, Deibs, yeah.
I mean, we've been saying this on our Suit of Geeks podcast. I absolutely adore this show. This is the show that I've been waiting for. And it's delivered in terms of character development and telling a rich story. I think it's been just top notch. I get people are pissed off because they're not getting this like super action packed Jason Bourne type of movie based television show. But man, I just love how they are portraying Bucky, kind of similar to Wanda, just laden with guilt over what he's lost. You got Falcon, who's trying to live up to Cap's legacy, struggling to live his life, struggling to make ends meet. Financially, you got some larger themes surrounding around racism. We'll talk into that, I think. And I just love the fact that the meat and potatoes of the show is character development. Kevin Feige could have easily sold out and given us X-Men in WandaVision. He could have given us Jason Bourne in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but here they're focused on giving and telling a truly great story over giving us mindless action. And I rated this episode a 9.4 out of 10, which just beat my 9.3 rating review in the premiere. So I love this show to death, man. It is speaking to my heart. I love it.
Wait, those ratings are awfully specific. 9.3, 9.4. What I do.
All right, Gabe. I know that you're not happy with what's going on here.
Yeah,
I know why you're not happy though. Let me preface this with everybody.
You go first. No, you go first. Yeah.
Gabe is super unhappy because he doesn't want another trailer for a movie that he's going to see in a year or two. He wants this to be like beginning, middle, end, first, second, third act be done. So for all of you out there that are about to disagree with Gabe, just keep that in mind that he doesn't want another trailer. Personally, while I agree that the movies or this show is taking a little bit longer to get started than I would have liked it to, I personally love trailers. Trailers are the best part of the movie. Like literally, they cut out the best parts and they put it in there. So I'm hoping that this is a trailer for an amazing movie that we're going to get to see soon. That being said, I really wish that they would pick up the pace on some parts. I understand that they are doing some really great character building and they are putting some people in there, but there are definitely certain parts of the episode, especially the first episode, not as much in the second episode, where you felt like I call it like an automatic transmission in a car where you're moving forward, and then you slow down, and then forward, and slow down. Like that's how I feel these episodes are going, and I wish that I could get a more consistent pace throughout the episode. All right, Gabe, take it away.
All right. I mean, this won't affect how any of you guys feel about the show. Like, if you love it like Deibs, I mean, I couldn't be happier for you. I wish I was as happy with the show, even though, some people like Ryan don't believe me. But to me, this show is exactly what I don't think the MCU should be. I think it's incredibly derivative. Yeah, I know, Leo. I'm going for it. I think it's incredibly derivative. It's even the action sequence are directly reference. They come directly from the Captain America movies. I jumped without a parachute. That comes from the Winter Soldier. Like it's all derivative because they knew that people liked the Winter Soldier, but they were moving forward with other things. There was no like formal sequel to the Winter Soldier, the movie, the Captain America and the Winter Soldier movie. So this is that sequel. Fine. But you don't have to do the same damn thing. I mean, you don't have to do the same thing because this is just like the characters are just not engaging to me. None of them. Like probably they've done a bit more with Bucky, a bit, but then in this episode, they had that interrogation room scene where it was just like they were like an old married couple, which was, I don't get, like they've made jokes about not liking each other, but they're grown-ups. They're not 14 years old. So I don't know why they had to have that scene in there. They were getting along just fine and fighting together the prior scenes. I don't think it makes any sense. I think I agree with John. It's not going anywhere. Like right now it's just like, we got to get another guy from the Captain America movies in here. So let's call Simo. And then they're going to have Agent 13 and all these people that kind of like had left plot threads open. And I think episode 2 kind of like gave me a better idea of where it's going. And I don't like where it's going because it's just so basic and just so derivative of what came before. Sorry, Leo. Sorry.
I mean, I hear you. I don't agree with everything you said. I think that there are definitely parts of it that, it's halfway. It is halfway through the show.
It's true. Yeah, it's true.
And that's my biggest fear is that in 6 episodes.
Sonny has that comment for you, John. Or is it'll hopefully get going and kick off soon? Yeah. Yeah,
I agree. I mean, like we are halfway done with the show. I want it to get going. If this were WandaVision or another show where I knew that we were getting a full episode count, if we were seeing 10 episodes, and let me say this, everybody hears me. I think that we would be on a good pace because if you compare the pacing of this to WandaVision, then it is the same pace as WandaVision. Okay. The problem is that instead of 9 episodes, we're getting 6 episodes. So we're losing, and I don't want people to, everybody thinks about this in episode count. Let's call it what it is. Screen time. We are losing a shit ton of screen time by not having 3 hours extra to progress the plot. That is an entire end game movie that we're going to miss in plot progression because we don't have but 6 episodes. I'm hoping that they can pull it off. I know it's Marvel, so they're going to pull it off, I'm assuming.
I mean, okay, 3 more episodes, it's 2 more hours of your life lost. And here, Mrs. Crockpot, and
literally
you like it together.
Talking about Godzilla 1998, and here we are complaining about life lost.
Godzilla 1998.
Welcome to my show with Gabe, where
well, shit just doesn't make sense. Nothing makes sense here. I don't know, John.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. So I'm going to go back to Gabe for this one, but do you think the leads are charismatic? We have talked this to no end almost.
No, yeah, I don't. I mean, I don't see them. That scene in the interrogation room, had it been given to better actors, No, that was dumb. I'm sorry. Like, Martin Scorsese with Robert De Niro and DiCaprio could not build that stupid script off. Yeah, they're not good enough to carry their own show. The writers are not good enough to write their own show. I'm disappointed.
I mean, I think what they're doing is a lot of buddy comedy stuff, right?
Yeah, but not in a good one. Yeah, go for it, Deibs. Prove me wrong.
Go for it, Deibs.
No, I don't have enough. I'm too late to get into this. This sounds like we need to have you on to our show, Gabe, and really break this down because I fully disagree, top to bottom. But this is where the MCU absolutely 100% should be moving towards. This is what made WandaVision so great when it's tackling trauma and it's tackling some dark, real life issues that people have to deal with. That's what they're starting to do with Sam and Bucky. And that was really just symbolic of that meeting with Dr. Rayner when they're starting to confront everything and all they have lost with Cap, not being a part of their lives. They're completely broken characters. You ask if these character leads are charismatic. It's way too soon to jump to conclusions, man. Like we're only in a third into this series that is heavily story driven. Saying these characters aren't charismatic would be like watching 40 minutes of a film and then basing an opinion on just that 40 minutes. Having an opinion on Scarlet Witch by episode 2. You can't do that, guys. Like I think it's way too soon. These are two completely broken characters following the events of Avengers Endgame. And I just love how these two characters, like they couldn't be any more different, yet they have so many parallels and share some similarities in a lot of sense. So like they're both isolated. They're all alone. They're both most emotionally and both mentally unstable. So I think that the creators are giving us these breadcrumbs in regards to Sam and Bucky moving forward, similar to like Wanda, like accepting her trauma and fully embracing the death of Vision. I think that's the same thing that we're going to see here in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, especially Sam accepting, who he is as a hero. He has the instinct. We already seen it in these 2 episodes. You've seen little glimpses of Sam having the instincts of Captain America. That's why he was given the shield. So I fully expect Sam to kind of embrace that, accept his responsibility and a burden to an extent. That was why he was given the shield. So I fully disagree, Gabe. No offense, but I
disagree with you on the fact that I think that the buddy comedy stuff is hilarious because they did it in Civil War. They've done this before, right? Like these comedic timing moments. They actually did it. I think at the end of Ant-Man and the first Ant-Man or something like that. Anyway, I actually really like that. That's the only thing that I'm worried about, to your point, is I want to see the progression of Falcon become Captain America. I don't know that this is the series that we're going to see it in. And I think that we are going to be on for a much longer journey than we originally thought. And it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing.
Yeah, it took 10 years to get to Endgame. Why are we jumping the gun right now? We're like literally within the first.
We've been watching Zack Snyder movies. We have to jump the gun.
That's a good point. I agree. Yeah, I agree with Deibs there. Here's the thing. I want to move on to the next, so we don't spend 20 minutes on a 20-minute episode. But just one thing. I think that in a show, you gotta engage the audience with. You gotta make the audience like the characters and feel invested with them. Since episode 1. And I know it's a slow build for the character arcs. I get what you're saying, but it just, to me, when I watched 24 for the first time, I was like, okay, Jack Bauer is the guy. And when I watched the Smallville for the first time, I was like, this guy is a good Superman. And, The Boys, I watched Carl Urban, and he was just fantastic as Butcher. So that's my point on that. But let's move to spoilers.
Yeah, let's go to that.
Oh, wait, Well, let's do. You want to do the racism? Sorry.
Yeah, I want to do that. I actually want to do this full spoiler. So we're going to talk about spoilers now, everybody. So spoilers, whatever. Okay, so this show is tackling something that I think I've led into a minute ago, but comic books for years and years and years, thank you, have always done the same thing. Like since the 60s, they have tackled hot button issues within society. That is just a way that comic books have gone. I think in a previous episode, I talked about how Tony Stark was a raging alcoholic, and they kind of mentioned that in Iron Man 2. But of course, they like very much subdued it, right? You can kind of get a glimpse of that in Iron Man 2 when he's drunk at his own party and he's blowing shit up. But this one is coming at a very momentous time in our country and culture, and it is trying to tackle racism. And it is going kind of head on at it, and it's giving us some stuff that we didn't know about, right? Super soldiers, specifically a black super soldier from a timeline when Cap was sleeping and Bucky knew about it, which brings up to a good point that I'm going to hit on later. But it is going after these race relations, mainly in that one right after that scene where you see them walking out and they go up to Anthony Mackie and they're like, whoa, is this guy messing with you? And he's standing next to Bucky. Now, that shows two things. One, it shows that the characters are divided and they're not friends, and it's very obvious. But it also shows the inherent racism of the police as seen in the world. So what do you guys think about how they're trying to tackle this? I'm going to start with Gabe this time.
I think, to me, I mean, I wouldn't presume to be an expert on racism themes. Of course I'm not at all. So I don't want to, come across as somebody that's going to teach anything about this. Just to me, from the perspective of a comic book project tackling racism, the closest comparison is Watchmen, because it happened last year in the same particularly difficult time for the United States and the world, and racism. I think Watchmen never felt like they had to explain stuff to me. Like, look, this is racism. Like, they just showed me. And the storyline was motivated because of, old-timey racism and current racism. And it was just like driving the story forward. Here, I feel like, especially in that arrest scene, I feel like they wanted to show the issue with cops arresting black people versus white people by having them together, but it just felt like they were telling me, and it seems like they're describing, like, look, he's the white guy, they're not doing anything, and like it felt like they were, and it's the point is not a point, they're just like they're not being subtle, and I felt like it felt lazy, and I didn't like it.
All right, you're up, Deibs.
I thought the strength of the episode was Isaiah Bradley's character. I actually really enjoyed his little segment, and I went on a rant on a previous show, like hoping that we get to see more of what this character was and who he was. Like, you look at the diversity in the first three phases of Marvel, it's literally nothing. There is no diversity within the first part of the MCU, and you look at where this is going, it's diversity everywhere for the better. My favorite part was Isaiah Bradley and how the idea, I think this is Kevin Feige's way to make up for that. The idea of a black Captain America fighting in the Korean War, and then he goes on these like suicide missions and then thrown in jail for 30 years. That's really interesting to me. I hope they kind of give us a little bit more of that. And I that was like almost not borderline. It was tragic to see like Anthony Mackie's character Sam being like, how the hell did I not know that there was this black super soldier fighting for what was good, and he just got buried. That was an awesome moment. I love the moment when the African American boy went up to Falcon and was like, "You're Black Falcon?" Like, that made me think back to, remember when Chadwick Boseman died and all these videos came up of African American children like celebrating or also crying that Black Panther has died. And that's how I took that. I actually had an emotional response to that. So I thought it was really well done. And like I said previously, like, this is when Marvel thrives, when it's tackling adult themes and adult issues. Like, sorry, Thor: The Dark World, we're going to leave your ass behind. This is the new wave of Marvel, diversity and celebrating it. And that's where I think is absolutely the smart move for Marvel.
Yeah, I agree. I think that what they're doing is what they should have been doing all along, what they've been doing in the actual comics for a very, very long time. I don't think that scene was too over heavy-handed, Gabe. I mean, I can understand where you're coming from, but I don't think it was like beat you over the head like, some things definitely do. I thought it was actually pretty subtle. But I'm wondering what we're actually going to get out of this entire series now, because this creates a whole, like, not to get in, and this is going to be the last thing, so I don't want to get into it too much, but this does create a whole, like, continuity loop where, like, the super soldier was created back when Captain America could have been, like, way back in the past, like Steve Rogers, because we know Steve Rogers went back in time, and although we think that he's in a different universe, so, like, I want people to start thinking about that. Where did all these super soldiers come from? Maybe they came from Cap because Cap screwed up and decided that he wanted to have a life with Peggy. And, like, I want people to start actually getting on this, like, they might be doing more here than what we're thinking. And that's what I'm hoping. And I'm really worried that I'm wrong, but I'm really hoping that they're doing some crazy shit that I'm going to sit at the end and be like, okay, this is awesome, because it's WandaVision did this to us, right? We sat, we speculated, and we did all that. I'm hoping that this next episode kind of gets us onto that train of, like, they're introducing it, right? Like, oh, there's more super soldiers. There was a black Captain America, which they haven't directly said yet, but they've kind of alluded to, right? We know that he was a super soldier, but, like, that's where I want to go. I want to start alluding to, like, getting this whole universe together and giving us something to speculate for weeks before or weeks ahead in the future. And that's why I say it's lackluster, because I want that speculation. I want to come on this show and argue with Gabe about what's going to happen on the next week's episode.
I'm happy we have different opinions on this one, because WandaVision we were mostly aligned, and here I feel like I'm on the other side. Sorry, Deibs, you were going to say something.
No, I fully agree. I love making theories. It's literally, like, my favorite part of watching a TV show, like Game of Thrones, Lost, like that. Those were my babies, where I just, like, lost hours and hours, thousands of hours just thinking about random bullshit that never happened. And yeah, everyone else on the Suit Up Geeks podcast are like, no more theories. We're out.
Well, I welcome your theories over here, okay? Because, like, honestly, I love shows that make you, like, question. Like, Lost is one of my. Lost is, like, up here, horrible ending, amazing everything else. So, like, that's what I really want, is, like, I want the speculation to start on the show. I think we could be getting there. Like, they're introducing enough pieces. Can they solve that in 6 episodes? Who knows? Right? We don't.
All right, I'm just going to tell you, it's not a theory. This is how it's going to end. I'll just tell you.
Okay.
I believe that the John Walker situation is an analogy for whitewashing. That Captain America himself have picked the black Captain America to take his mantle. And then for reasons that don't make any sense, Sam was decided to give it up. But then I noticed that the same guy that told Sam, you made the right choice with giving away the shield, was the guy who gave the shield to John Walker. Okay? So to me, they're saying, like, oh, they don't want to, like, they're making an analogy of, like, they don't want a black guy to be the face of Captain America. Which, of course, is parallels in the real world, and of course was tackled way better by Watchmen, but we won't get into that. And then, so by the end, you'll see that Sam's character arc is he'll be able to accept that he can become the next Captain America. That's what the show is going to be, 6 hours of that to get to that. And John Walker, who is not a bad guy. I thought he was going to be a douchebag and all that, but he's not a bad guy. He's just a guy that was thrown into an inconvenient situation.
No, he's going to die. Bootleg Cap. He looks like
he's going to. Yes, so he's going to die, and he's going to end up giving the shield to Sam as he dies. Remember that. No. Remember that.
He's going to become U.S. agent. None of that's going to happen. I think Dave is wrong. Yeah, I think Dave is wrong. It's not going to happen. I don't think that we're going to get a new Captain America by the end of this. I think that we're going to have, and if we do get a new Captain America, by the way, and I've said this before, I think it's going to follow the comics, and I think Bucky's going to take up the mantle for a little bit because he's going to help Sam out. And because they're going to bond and be best friends by the end of this, just like if you watch Ted Lasso, Gabe, that you would understand, but they're going to all bond. They're all going to be best friends. There's no spoiler. It's a happy show, okay? But they're going to be best friends. I think Bucky is going to pick up the mantle for Cap for a little bit, and it could be 1 or 2 movies. But I also know that Sebastian Stan has like 9 movies on his contract, so they've got to fill out like 3 more.
Oh no!
So,
all right.
So all your theories are now thrown out. We're going to close out the show with Gabe being wrong.
No. Deibs, just final positive thoughts. Be the better man. I'm very negative. Well, John was positive, but Deibs.
No, final thoughts are I actually enjoy. I don't think we've seen the villain yet, to be honest. And I actually truly enjoy how there's no black or white with these villains. You look at John Walker, you look at all these the Flag Smashers. There's a lot of gray in all of these different characters. I think that's really, really interesting that you don't even know that these guys are the villains. You are just scratching the surface in terms of what they're about. And I think that's kind of fun because they're not like these terrorists that are like doing this and this and this and they're terrible. I think there's a lot more under the surface there. So I'm really enjoying the show, and I really enjoyed coming on here.
The villain is bad screenwriting.
Oh my God, Dave. And with that, everybody, this has been another week of Cinespection.
Goodbye. Last week we didn't say our Twitter stuff and everything. So you can follow Deibs at Mr. Crockpot on Twitter. He's fantastic on Twitter. He posts a lot of really good pictures of his daughter and his dog. Both really, really good. I'm a big fan. So he's a great follow. So give him a follow for sure. Also follow the Painted Lines, which is, we're using the resources. We're really happy to be working with them on this. You can follow us at Cinespection and follow us for the polls because we'll be polling what we'll do next. Not this week because we already have the movie picked for this week, Daylight, finally. But next week we'll probably go between 10,000 BC and a whole bunch of other crap. Actually, yes, 4 choices. Yeah, so we'll come up with something. You can follow me at Film Opinionitis right there. And you can follow John at Joe Firth, as you see it spelled there. And if you're listening to this, it's JoHAFIRTH. And we will see you next week. This has been Cinespection, and go watch Godzilla, please. Good night.
All right, guys, I'm going to bed.
Yeah, I'm East Coast hours now, so I'm with you.
Please.
Yeah, I think he's out.
All right, thanks.
All right, talk to you later. Bye.
Later on.